morning and welcome to another episode of Morning Java, brought to you as always by our friends at the Get Go Cafe and Market, where this month is sub month. They have 7-inch subs for $4.99, 300,000 different types of subs. You can mix it up however it is that you want. I'm joined here in studio by the great Dave Molinari, and we're going to talk about all the exciting stuff that's happened in hockey lately, right? I mean, this is like, you've done like your 10th Marcus Pettersson update for us. I mean, it's really that bad, isn't it?
It has been a pretty slow off season. Marcus Pettersson has gotten probably more headlines than I think even his parents ever anticipated.
No, I would imagine so. It's crazy the way this roster seems so set. And that doesn't mean there aren't going to be any kind of battles once they do get to training camp in a couple of weeks. It doesn't mean somebody couldn't surprise or whatever. But when you're talking about, I don't know, who's at the fringe of the forwards, for example?
Boy, they're really nobody. I mean, there are 13 guys who seem to be in line for jobs. You would expect them, salary cap permitting, to start, the season with 13 forwards on the roster. Looks like the 7 defensemen that in theory you would expect them to carry are all pretty clear-cut. There will be a lot of battles for positions on the forward line. So they have an awful lot of versatile guys who can play a number of positions and who have shown that they can move up and down the lineup. So I think you'll see an awful lot of mixing and matching during camp and the preseason
There's a whole lot
games.
of Brian Rust basically in the lineup, meaning not just up and down the lineup, but also right and left.
Yeah.
That's part of, now, on one hand, Mike Sullivan swears that he loves that, and so does Rutherford, in terms of bringing guys like that in, because he's got flexibility to move guys around hot and cold. At the same time, you would think that for line formation,
I think they run the risk of something known as the paradox of choice, where you're not happy because you have too many options. There are too many possibilities to pick from. And I think that might well be the case here. They have so many guys who can play right and left wing, who can play on the first line or the third line. There are so many combinations that are possible that it might be difficult. I could actually see them going into the regular season and still experimenting with combinations.
And we'll talk about one of those next. Of the 3 new forwards that the Penguins will be bringing into camp, the one that's probably going to have the highest visibility, you would think, is Alex Galchenyuk. Not just because he came in the Phil Kessel trade, but because he has that talent that's going to catch people's eye. He also has that back checking that's going to catch the coach's eye.
He probably has the biggest reputation of the 3 forwards they added during the offseason. I don't know that ultimately he'll have the biggest impact. I mean, this is far from certain, like most of the forward combinations, but I don't think it's out of the question at all that Dominic Kuhn ends up on the first line on the right side. There's an awful lot to like about his game. He's still very young. I think he could be a pretty good fit there. Brandon Tanev, I assume, is going to be a bottom 6 guy.
Yeah, and he should be.
Yeah.
He should be. He does not, I don't care. He had, I think it was 13 goals for Winnipeg last year. He is not an offensive player.
No, he's not. And there's nothing in his history, I don't think, at any level to suggest that he has significant offensive upside. Galchenyuk is kind of a wild card.
Contract year.
That certainly is something that weighs in his favor. And it's also kind of interesting that Jim Rutherford has said that if he doesn't produce as the Penguins expect, they'll simply let him walk.
Yeah, what a Jim thing to say, by the way, too, right? You know what I mean?
That's a nice bit of candor that you don't usually get from a general manager, but it's probably a pretty good idea to plant. I see that Galchenyuk's trainer has talked about how committed he has been this summer.
Oh, they've shown these Instagram videos of him looking like Kasper Bjorkqvist. To put that high a bar on him, but
perhaps the message has gotten through to him that this could be a big make or break year for his future earnings, and if so, that you would think that would only work to the Penguins' benefit.
Does he fit with Malkin though? That's the only way he's getting in the top 6.
that remains to be seen.
It always does with him, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know with Malkin until that player is right out there on the ice with him. They need to be Ruslan Fedotenko, all of them. You and Taylor are going to be covering the Penguins prospects over this weekend. You'll be up in Buffalo for the tournament games that they play against the Devils, Bruins, and the host Sabres. Is there any chance that anybody participating in this, I think I know the answer to this, can do anything to crack the lineup? It really, Dave, at any point in the coming season?
Well, I wouldn't rule that out, only because a couple of the forwards who are going, like Sam Lafferty, the kid from Harrisburg, and
Jim really likes him, by the way. Jim really likes Sam Lafferty.
That was when I asked him earlier this summer who might be able to make a run at a job in the NHL. That was the first name out of his mouth. Well, Sam Ledish is another guy who will be in Buffalo, who, if there are injuries, much as the case with Lafferty, if there are injuries, those are two guys you might see in Pittsburgh. There are a couple of intriguing young defensemen. Joseph, the guy they got in the Kessel trade, Cale Addison, who has shown some pretty good promise.
He's got wheels.
Neither of those guys is anywhere near NHL ready at this point, I don't think. If their defense has so many injuries that one of those guys makes it to Pittsburgh this winter, it's going to be a pretty tough season for the home club, I think.
It's natural, too, that there's going to be eyes, I'm sure yours included, on both Nathan Legare, the second-round pick, and, of course, Poulin, first name. I keep wanting to call him Patrick.
Samuel,
because his dad was Patrick, and we are both old and can only remember his dad when he played for the Hartford Whalers, who don't even exist anymore. Those guys, you got to see those guys at the development camp. You know, it's not imminent for either of them. I think particularly in Legare's case, I think he really needs to get his feet moving a lot faster than they are. But when you see Samuel Poulin and you see the general skill set.
Both of them I think you will see in the NHL in a few years. But it will be in a few years. They're not going to go from playing in Buffalo this weekend to being in the 22-man roster in early October. But Poulin certainly has given reason to think to this point that it was a pretty good move on their part to hold on to the first-round draft choice this year.
Held on and then moved up later to make sure to get Legare, his buddy up there in the queue, get a couple of big power forwards who can skate. Do you agree with me on Legare when you watch him? I felt like he could still get.
I mean, they're both still kids.
I know.
Way removed from being finished products.
Yeah.
But you can see there's a lot there to work with, and there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about their future.